Blackhawk Rescue Mission 5 Zombies mode is a PvE experience set in the BRM5 universe, where the player battles against low-level bandits, mercenaries, and, of course, zombies, in a post-outbreak environment. This video will cover a deep dive into the lore behind zombies. How did this outbreak even happen? And who is to blame? What happened to Dr. Lakewell and his research? Is he even alive? And what do we know about the other characters and factions we're presented with, such as Beryllium 3 and the Sheepdogs? All to be answered soon. At the end of this video, I will share with you my personal theories of who is responsible for the outbreak. But first, let's get into the two main theories that are being followed as for why this outbreak has happened. The first general consensus one can make is that zombie mode follows the bad ending, where the world did not reset the missile on Attic Island, resulting in the outbreak. The bad ending resulted in the launch of the ICBM. The good ending resulted in the ICBM being disarmed. This makes sense at a glance. In BRM5's open world game mode, the main goal is to eliminate the POD on Attic Island and stop the ICBM launch from striking the world and provoking war. However, this is false, confirmed by developers and the lore of the game. The POD, BRM5's main antagonist group, did not launch the ICBM, as it was stopped by the player in the good ending of Blackhawk Rescue Mission 5. This is confirmed in the mission Missing in Action, provided by Hollis Bergher, as described.
About half a year ago, the successes of Platinum's operation to retake that island from terrorists were plastered all over the news. The few survivors from the missile silo were later assigned to Cryo.
Using this description, we confirm Platinum 5's efforts prevailed, and the ICBM missile was stopped. One of the developers of the game, KitKat, also confirms this with this response. The cat's out of the bag, and the missile is not relevant to what is happening stateside. This means that, as of now, the exact cause of the outbreak is unknown. However, we can assume two things from this. One, the ICBM was a ploy, a mere trick to deceive the world while the POD struck New York with chemicals, leading to the outbreak. A great theory presented by DipN is that the POD was experimenting with the virus that caused infected people to turn into zombies in Ronograd. The POD launched a multifaceted attack on the US, and the missile launch was just a distraction. KitKat infers that the POD is not one of scale, but sophistication. This group is small, but highly organized. There could have been two teams of POD, one on Attic Island, and one hiding and lurking in the shadows of New York. The second option being, someone new or something is at fault, meaning that there is another faction out there who is responsible for the outbreak. As we dive further into the lore, we discover that there are some distasteful characters within New York. The more likely option is that the POD are directly involved, as mentioned in DipN's theory. I believe this theory to be true. As KitKat mentioned, they are organized and keen. The outbreak could have been planned after experimentations in Ronograd. However, we don't have the answers on this yet, and who knows if we ever will. The cause is certainly a mystery, and only the future will tell the true cause. For now though, let's piece together what we do know and believe to be true with a coherent timeline that'll be easy to follow along. March 3rd, 2024. A criminal safe house is raided in London. British police uncover a stash of weapons and chemical agents. Intelligence analysts uncover transmissions to Attic Island. Military force is cleared for deployment. At an unknown date, Dr. Lakewell and Platinum 5 BCU are deployed to Ronograd to study and quarantine the outbreak caused by experimentation by the POD. 6 months ago, I'm assuming May 2025, after an unknown amount of time passes, the POD launches an attack on the US, using the missile launch as a decoy for their actual attack on New York. Following the decoy launch, I'm assuming June 2025, infection breaks out and sweeps across New York. Platinum 5 deploys to quarantine the outbreak. Dr. Lakewell deploys alongside them, in Mercury 2, to Site A to study the virus. October 2025. After being deployed for some time, the infected begin to turn into zombies, forcing Dr. Lakewell and his team to abandon their laboratory and retreat to Site C, where his fate is unknown. In present time, Operation Cryo is initiated, taking place in the game's current state. Now that we have what we believe to be the history of the outbreak and a decent timeline, let's dive into the story of Dr. Lakewell and our fellow characters and factions. Dr. Lakewell is a character who first showed up in Operation Viper's Halloween event. Dr. Lakewell was in charge of Platinum 5 Biohazard Containment Unit, or BCU, during a zombie outbreak on Attic Island. He tasked the player with assisting his research of probable chemical incidents in Ronograd. He asked the player to do many things, such as obtaining bags from an old mountain base, holding off waves of enemies at locations, and to investigate the forest to the west of the quarry. After accepting this last quest from him, the player waited until midnight, where they went into the forest in a valley. Shortly after arrival, the player was swarmed by hordes of zombies. For the player's bravery and assistance, he rewarded the player with an M50 gas mask, a red flannel, and other cosmetics. In Operation Cryo, he plays a much larger role. No longer is he a man who provides fetch quests. He is now a researcher with Mercury 2. He was sent into New York City's quarantine zone with a team to study the virus. Dr. Lakewell had his lab set up in the parking garage, as seen within the Deep End missions. He was forced to flee to Site C at the water treatment plant located under the bridge by the coast, where him and his team lost contact with the rest of Mercury 2. In the mission The Deep End, Dr. Petra Weiss, who is another scientist with Mercury 2, asks you to investigate the fate of Lakewell, and to also track down the samples. Before Lakewell lost contact with Mercury 2's secure base, he reported that the team had samples of the powder deployed in the explosion of the attack.
The weaponized form of the virus.
Lakewell stated that these samples are traces of the Ronograd attack, but it is possible these samples are of higher quantity. Dr. Weiss emphasizes that
the priority is to track down those samples.
You would think she would have more interest of her colleague's status. I suppose the situation is dire. Business first, right? Anyways, your team equips a gas mask and fights their way into the parking garage, uncovering some details on Dr. Lakewell and his team. You find the key in the basement and enter Lakewell's old laboratory. Within, we discover some eerie news.
Infected turning, just like Ronograd. Comms are too busy to call for help. We are headed to Site C.
Dr. Lakewell confirms his report to Dr. Weiss, that the virus is linked to Ronograd's, just more potent. His team is forced to flee to Site C as they were overrun by the infected. With that note, we head to the abandoned water treatment plant, also known as Site C. When we arrive to Site C, it doesn't look good. We discover that it is filled with the infected, even more so than the parking garage laboratory. Fighting through hordes of the infected, you travel through the sewers and climb to where Lakewell's hard drive is. This hard drive contains Lakewell's research. Unfortunately, this is above your pay grade, and it's not like you know what to do with it anyways. Your team grabs the hard drives and finds the samples. You put the samples into your bag, thinking about the hell that was unleashed by these chemicals. Should I really be holding onto this? You say to yourself. Moving past your thoughts, you push to your exfil point at the mall. Dr. Weiss briefly expresses her concern for Dr. Lakewell, hoping he made it out safely.
These are the samples we're looking for. That was dangerous cargo from a dangerous place. We owe a lot to your courage, operator. As for Lakewell, I hope you made it out of there in time.
It is never explained as to what has happened to Dr. Lakewell and his crew. He's either dead, or he made it out. Dr. Lakewell is a scientist recruited by Mercury 2. He is smart. He understands the infection, maybe more than any of the other Mercury 2 scientists. He knows how to evade the infected. He has studied them and the virus for over a year now. Maybe one day we'll find him out there. Maybe. It's good to understand exactly who you're working for. I have broken down the factions that are present within zombies and their motives. Let's start with Platinum 5. Platinum 5 is the main faction within Blackhawk Rescue Mission 5. Platinum 5 is a joint multinational task force, allied with Beryllium 3 and Mercury 2. They are the protagonist group of BRM 5. Upon arriving to the UNS New York, the ship that acts as your main HQ, Lieutenant Commander Hollis Bergher provides the player with their first mission, tasking them with retrieving medical supplies and food rations. He then provides more missions, such as Shallow End, where the player must eliminate bandits. Following this, Lieutenant Commander Bergher will introduce the player to Dr. Petra Weiss and the other characters.
Those guys were nasty. The QZ is a little safer with them gone. It seems like you can handle yourself. I think it's about time I clear you to work with other folks on board.
Accepting the mission introductions will give you access to the main mission lines in the game, such as Defectors, The Deep End, and some other miscellaneous quests. Lieutenant Commander Bergher will ask you to destroy APCs that were left behind in the Armored Patrol missions. After completing some more missions, Lieutenant Commander Bergher will assign the player with the mission line Hammer Down. In this line, you are tasked with investigating the Sheepdogs, a well-organized ex-military group that has stolen some explosives. Could these explosives be linked to the ones that caused this outbreak? More on that later. In Hammer Down Part 2, intel shows that Sheepdogs plan to demolish the subway tunnels in the quarantine zone. Lieutenant Commander Bergher urges us to stop them, stating that in hopes of curing the infected, mass murdering millions will not be tolerated. He sends us to hit the Sheepdogs camp and recover the explosives. They are fortified, but we prevail. In Part 3 of Hammer Down, Lieutenant Commander Bergher tasks us with eliminating Sheepdogs, 15 to be exact.
I don't have any solid intel leading to where they're stashing the goods. So my thinking is, we'll poke the bear and try to keep them busy.
We return, successful as always. Our efforts proved good, as many of them have abandoned their post.
We'll see if they screw up,
Lieutenant Commander Bergher says. In Hammer Down Part 4, Lieutenant Commander Bergher discovers the Sheepdogs have set up an HQ at the abandoned construction site, and an explosive payload has been shipped there. While an all-out assault cannot be approved, we are tasked with knocking the building's power down and stealing the rest of the Sheepdogs' explosives. Many Sheepdogs are neutralized during the mission. After taking the explosive stash from the Sheepdogs HQ, the commander works to get a proper attack signed off. In the meantime, you are given Hammer Down Part 5. Your team is to document some evidence of abandoned posts. This is to build a strong case against the Sheepdog and present to the public.
They aren't just deserters, they're outright masochists. It won't be hard to convince the public and our leaders to act.
And that's the last time we hear of Lieutenant Commander Bergher, for now. We successfully documented all we needed to show the terrors caused by the Sheepdogs. Mercury 2 is the research team and force within New York City during the outbreak. This division tasks the player with much of the research and medical aspects of the Zombies game mode. Mercury 2's main character are the formerly mentioned Dr. Petra Weiss and Dr. Lakewell. But before we are introduced to those two, we are contacted by Nurse Ahmed Najjar. Ahmed tasks the player with obtaining medical supplies for the UNS New York. He states that the ship lacks sterile equipment and is in need of fresh medical tools.
Thank you, kindly. This will help us take care of patients faster.
Bringing these back to him will give you access to Dr. Petra Weiss and her missions. The game states that Nurse Ahmed is unaffiliated, however, I'm mentioning him here because he leads you into the Mercury 2 storyline. So think of him as an independent character, the same as the others who give you the miscellaneous missions. Dr. Petra Weiss acts as the main face of Mercury 2. Dr. Weiss tasks the player with controlling the population of infected soldiers, gathering details on medical-related matters, and as previously mentioned, studying Dr. Lakewell and his team. She provides some of the hardest missions available, such as the Deep End and the Research Fellow series. Your first mission with Dr. Weiss, Safety Inspection, involves you infiltrating a Ground Zero area and taking field images of the MQ from all sides.
We developed mobile quarantine units to contain aerosolized virus orphan sources, learning from Ronograd.
Unfortunately, the area has an increased concentration of the virus, so we can assume the MQ failed at its job. For your extremely dangerous work, Dr. Weiss rewards you with higher quality gas mask filters. She states that the mobile quarantine is holding fine, with no leaks present. She has ideas as to the cause of the error, but she doesn't feel the need to share that information with you. Following this, you do some grunt work for her, uncovering the Sheepdogs' underground hideout and keeping the lights on. In Research Fellow, Dr. Weiss sends the player to gather details from Dr. Beth Mason's apartment and collect her research. A fellow of Dr. Mason was working on a dissertation regarding engineered viruses that eat other viruses. This fellow did not have time to escape, so it is safe to assume they're no longer living. Dr. Weiss demands the player go retrieve that information.
I fear the worst, but if we're lucky, his drafts and research material might still be at his home. Go to his apartment and collect any documents you can.
You go to the apartment and discover that it was set ablaze. Fortunately though, you find the research is intact within a locked safe, and you return to Dr. Weiss. She seems more interested in this research than Dr. Mason's fellow. She states that she will contact Dr. Mason to determine the key's location.
Beth was distraught to hear about what we found.
Dr. Weiss discussed what happened to her fellow's apartment. Dr. Mason doesn't know where to find the key, but being as nice as she is, gives what information she can. She tells Dr. Weiss that there are hospital personnel files that may help find the key. Dr. Weiss directs us to head to the Metro Hospital and obtain these files, located in room 15A3. After fighting your way through countless hordes of zombies and overcoming the nest located in the hospital, you climb 15 flights of stairs. Winded, but you press on. You obtain the key and enter the record room. Opening the door, you hear a blaring alarm. You panic as you sift through files and files of useless patient information. And then you find it. The personnel file. You call for exfil, and you get the heck out of that hospital. After reporting back to Dr. Weiss, she disappointingly states that the fellow's safe was a bust. Nothing more than exercise habits and routines. And that is all we have on Dr. Weiss for now. In my opinion, Dr. Weiss knows more than what she's leading on. Isn't it odd that the two main quests we do for her revolve around two missing doctor characters? That being Dr. Lakewell and Dr. Mason's fellow. Her lack of compassion towards her friend makes me uneasy as well. Maybe I'm diving too much into this, but let me know what your thoughts are in the comments below. As mentioned, Dr. Beth Maison is a colleague of Dr. Weiss. Dr. Mason ran the research department at Metro Hospital when the disaster hit. She and Dr. Weiss met when Mercury 2 arrived. Dr. Mason was not happy whenever Dr. Weiss stepped in and took over her project, but she still gave vital information about her fellow's dissertation. Not much is known about Dr. Mason, but it can be said she is willing to help whoever is in need. I hope to receive more information on who this character is, and maybe some of her experiences on when the infection first manifested. Not much is known about Beryllium 3. They're a mysterious Black Ops group that operates in the shadows. We're only ever contacted by one character, that being John Doe, which obviously isn't his real name. We can assume the unknown character that contacts us is either JD himself or one of his colleagues, or just an unknown character. They appear to do research pertaining to combat operations, employ reconnaissance operators, and conduct terror cell infiltrations. And we know that they have access to classified information surrounding UNJTF personnel, even going as far as immediate relatives. John Doe is an agent of the United Nations International Development Board, or UNIDB for short, intelligence detachment, known as Beryllium-3. In our interactions with John Doe, we learn of defecting researcher Dr. K. Miller and Sergeant Purat, who have made off with Data, effectively betraying their post. John Doe isn't very happy about this, to say the least. We don't know why they chose to betray the UNIDB, but the controversy surrounding PL5's role on Ronograd leading up to the launch has led to a lot of disillusionment on the global stage. The first mission from Beryllium-3 is to investigate Miller's old home, find the data, and eliminate the traitors. Platinum 5 forces eliminate Dr. Miller, and his phone is recovered to be scrapped for data. Soon, new data was revealed showing that Purat was directly involved. Techs were able to intercept Purat's communication and discovered a plot to hand off the data to an unknown party. PL5 forces showed up to the scene to encounter an ambush by an unknown force. PL5 eliminate Purat and prevent the data from being leaked. In the mission Hammer Down Part 2, it is discovered that PL5's incursion has caused retaliation by Sheepdogs, who killed multiple field agents who were believed to have been operating within the Sheepdogs' ranks. Additionally, one of BE3's Blackhawks was downed, killing both the pilot and leaving valuable intel out in the open. The Sheepdogs, however, weren't able to get anywhere near it due to a nearby zombie nest. A forward-deployed scout watching the site kept overwatch since the bird went down, but as supplies dwindled, PL5 was called into action to relieve him and recover the data. You arrive on site to find the downed helicopter. You grab the intel, but the Sheepdogs are there to ambush you. You fend them off and escape.
It looks like they were waiting for you. Should have guessed, but we really couldn't risk losing the intel. Till next time.
This is the extent of our interaction with BE3 at this point. John Doe remains elusive, and how or why he was willing to part ways with Apache Flannel as a reward for valiant combat operations to Platinum 5 operators is unknown. It is an awfully comfortable shirt though, so we'll say thanks to John Doe for now. The Bandits in New York City are your run-of-the-mill antagonistic group. These guys don't have a ton of gear. If anything, they're similar to you, a survivor struggling, scrapping for rations and supplies. Unlike you though, these guys aren't the smartest. Bandits will usually form groups and fortify rundown areas of the city, not searching for a C-cell device to call for help. You'd have to be insane to want to stay out there. But as we've seen from the bank heist mission, there's more than enough leftovers for anyone trying to make a quick buck before the smoke clears. They are content with the survivor life, the thrill of living day to day, not knowing if you'll make it to the next, narrowly escaping the hordes of zombies and fighting against Platinum 5 operators and Sheepdog mercs. A thrilling yet dangerous lifestyle. These small-fried bandits will not pose much of a threat. They're usually equipped with sidearms and the occasional shotgun. Bandits are often overrun by zombies. The unsilenced shots alert and attract the infected, leading to their demise. But don't underestimate these guys though. Sometimes they lurk and surprise you. As mentioned, the Sheepdogs are an organized mercenary group who have no regard for your well-beings or Platinum 5s. They're ruthless, stone-cold killers looking to take you down and gain from your downfall. Sheepdogs possess stolen explosives. Their main goal is to blow up the underground tunnels in order to eliminate millions of infected. They believe this is the only way to cull the infected. Researchers at Mercury 2 hope for a cure, so Platinum 5 sends us in to stop them at all cost. Sheepdogs are equipped with military gear and armories. They hold vital areas of the city, such as by the mall and the intersection at Water and Stone Street, which are both exfil points. These guys, similar to bandits, look to surprise you and reap the benefits. Sheepdogs usually have high-powered rifles, meaning they could take you down in just a few shots. Work with Lieutenant Commander Bergher to thwart their efforts and shut down their operations. There are several characters that will contact you, providing miscellaneous quests that don't add a whole lot to the main story. Nevertheless, these guys are interesting. You have one guy who will ask you to loot a banker's keycard just to steal a silver bar, and you have another character who wants us to obtain a hard copy of a gaming project before mercenaries find it.
Might be able to get some cash for it if you can generate a hard copy before their mercs do. Chop chop.
The man who gives us this mission is known as Mr. Fixer. Wait a second, the same Fixer as before? The one who contacted us to obtain his gift, and then covers us with his sniper rifle and unknown collar? That's a great question, but the answer is like the name of the collar, unknown. I'd like to think Mr. Fixer is the same one who contacted us in unknown collar, but why would this guy want to help us? Could Fixer be part of Beryllium-3, contacting us to test our skills before introducing us to John Doe? Or is Mr. Fixer a different Fixer from the one who gives us the gift, as Fixer could be a blanket term for hitman, which makes sense since he uses a sniper rifle. What do you guys think? It goes without saying that there are many unknown aspects about the current missions we have in BRM5 Zombies, but what we do know is that there is much more to come. We know that the exact cause of the outbreak in New York City is unknown, but we're given enough clues to leave us wondering. Did the POD do this? How are they involved? Are they involved with any of this? My theory is as follows, so understand that this is not confirmed and could be false depending on future information we uncover. The Sheepdogs are working alongside the POD. The Sheepdogs were bought out to abandon their post. They possess explosives, with remnants of the chemicals that caused this whole crisis. Their goal of blowing up the metro to cleanse the infected would only cause more havoc. Not only is this a terror attack, but another element that would expand the infection past the quarantine zone. This would explain Dr. Weiss's obsessive nature towards Dr. Lakewell's research. Dr. Lakewell understood the virus better than anyone. He understands the impact that it has on the human body, and how it takes over, infecting and turning people into zombies. Platinum 5 understands the severity of the situation. This is why Mercury 2 is aggressively searching for a cure and preventative measures. This is why Beryllium 3 is secretive of information, and doesn't want the Defectors alive, to expose blacklisted information, causing more chaos. And that is why Lieutenant Commander Bergher urges us to stop the Sheepdogs from using these explosives at all cost. But how do we know the explosives contain the chemical agent that caused the outbreak? Well, we don't. But again, the hunt for the Sheepdog is aggressive, much like Dr. Weiss's aggressive nature with information concerning Dr. Lakewell's samples and studies. Maybe the Sheepdogs are somehow at fault for Lakewell's disappearance, and stole some of the samples. It is mentioned that the samples Lakewell obtained are from explosives after all. Now, I have just dumped an entire theory bomb, so take it with a grain of salt. Most of what I stated is just speculation, so that's just a theory. A J theory. I apologize for that joke. Anyways, this covers all we know and believe to be true about BRM5 zombies. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comments below. Do you believe the Sheepdog are responsible for the New York outbreak? Or do you believe the POD are to blame? What do you think truly happened to Dr. Lakewell? Do you think Dr. Weiss knows more than she's letting on, and leaving us in the dark? If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like on it. I have worked tirelessly to compile all the vital stuff into one video, and I have the whole community to thank. I appreciate everybody who's contributed to this video, so thank you so much. And be sure to subscribe to the channel, as I intend to post more videos like this. Have you a good day, and goodbye.